Hey, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing well. It is Thursday, December 21st, and it's 420, baby. I'm going to be mixing a record. I just figured I'd go live and kind of mix it with you guys so you can ask questions and we can get into it a little bit, and hopefully you can learn something from this. A couple things I want to start with, a couple notes. When you first start a mix, no matter what DAW you're using, or if you're in a big studio or whatever, there's a couple things I need to have when I start a mix, okay? Number one, water. You got to be hydrated. You got to stay hydrated, okay? Number two, this is a blend of electrolytes and a little bit of like a energy drink kind of thing, right? So it has like 150 milligrams of caffeine. I rather drink this than coffee. Sometimes coffee gets a little too acidic for me, right? So this just got a little caffeine in it and it helps me kind of focus. Too much caffeine though when you're mixing will tighten up your ears, okay? So be careful with the caffeine. And then number three, got a whole loaf of bread here. This is not necessary, but have some sort of snack, you know? You don't want to be getting up a lot when you're mixing. You want to be sitting here and mixing for, 1.5 to 3 hours and then take a break. I typically like to mix for about 90 minutes straight. And then I need an ear break. So that's kind of how I do it. So hopefully those tips kind of help you as you plan your mixing session. Now, I prefer to mix in Pro Tools because Pro Tools is really, really good with audio. The edits, the fades, the clip gain, all the things, the offline processing with Audio Suite. These are all things that Pro Tools does better than I think any DAW in the world. So audio is what Pro Tools is good at. And the ability to zoom really far into a region and see sample accurate waveform displays, all that kind of stuff. That's why Pro Tools is quote unquote the industry standard and has been for decades. And another reason why Pro Tools is an industry standard is because when we talk about the industry, we're really talking about the film and TV industry, okay? So the reason Pro Tools is so big in the industry is because Avid Media Composer is like the #1 video editing software used for major feature films, okay? So hopefully you guys understand that's why Pro Tools is the industry standard when people say that. They're not talking about the record industry. It did seep its way into the record industry in big studios, commercial studios, and you will find that most commercial studios will have Pro Tools, but they may not have FL Studio. They may not have Ableton. They may not have Logic Pro, but all of them will have Pro Tools. So that's a very important thing. You should learn Pro Tools if you want to work in a capacity of being in and out of studios, writing sessions. You want to work with, very professional audio engineers, mixing engineers, mastering engineers, just kind of professional level, like top of the top. That's not saying everybody uses it, but I would say that the majority of the industry uses Pro Tools, okay? And we're talking about mixing, mastering, recording, everything. Even production, like tons of producers use Logic Pro, Pro Tools. So I use both Logic Pro and Pro Tools. I use Logic Pro to produce and to compose and to sound design and all that kind of stuff. And I use Pro Tools for audio editing, vocal tuning, mixing and mastering, melodyning, all that good stuff, vocal lining, and just because it's a lot easier to use, okay? For audio. What's up, Philippe? How's everyone doing? Anyone in here? I know it's Thursday. I know you guys are taking it easy because the holidays and everything. I don't get that. I can't afford to take it easy. I have a lot of work. I have a lot of mixes to do. I got a lot of songs to produce, and I got sync reps and stuff just, looming. Everybody wants stuff right now. So I don't get to just take it easy. And I don't wish to take it easy. All right, so let's get into Pro Tools. Here we are. This is a Pro Tools session I'm just setting up. I always work from a template. If you're not working from a template, you're wasting time. Don't be that person that goes, I work from a brand new thing every time I mix a master. Yeah, that's why you can't get 2-3 mixes done a day that are at the highest quality, because you don't use a template. So everybody uses a template that's a professional in the industry, just so you guys know. All right, so the first thing we do is drop in the reference track. That's so important. Give the reference a listen, as we will do now. And I'll make sure that under my playback engine that you guys are hearing what I'm hearing. So we'll go out the Zoom audio, that's weird, through the Ecamm Live audio app, which I'm streaming with Ecamm Live. If you guys are curious how you get the stream going, you know, if you have any questions as I mix as well, you know, drop them in the comments. Share the show if you like it, if you get something out of it. We're just getting set up here. Pro Tools will now relaunch because now I'm going out the audio source of the Ecamm Live so you guys can hear exactly what I'm hearing in the studio. Okay? All right, saturation knob is missing. I don't give a fuck. Move on. All right, so here we are. We got the session. I got my template. I'll go through stuff as I go through stuff, but right now I'm just going to pop on the reference mix. Always get a reference bounce from your client, from the record label, from whoever, the producer. You have to have a reference bounce so you can hear what they have and how far they can get it, okay? So let's just listen to some of the reference. Okay, that's enough to get an idea of the track. It's very EDM. Sounds like the vocals are more like vocal chops and samples in the mix, rather than like a lead vocal. But it does sound like the reference, like he's treating them like a lead vocal. So I'm going to treat them like a lead vocal, right? So the first thing I'm going to set up is my template. I have a template here that I've dragged and dropped all the stems from, into. So as I set up my template, I typically, when I turn it on, all of these plugins are bypassed, right? And then I'll start to unbypass the master augs section and start to do my gain structure with the kick drum and the bass, okay? So getting that foundation right, okay? So let's hear what I have right now with just kick and bass. All right, so what I have right now is I'm starting to build the foundation of the track. Foundation of the track is the EDM beat, right? It's a 4 on the floor beat. It's got the bass, and then we're going to throw the vocals in. So that's how I mix. I always mix from the drums, bass, vocals, and then I put in all the synths and everything else, okay? Because that's the foundation of your song, and usually the vocals are the most important, right? In this track, it seems like everything's important. So we have to start to dial in on what's actually important. That's really, really a big part of mixing and being a mixing engineer. It's about curating the record and going, what's exciting about this record? So I really like the bass sound, but here's what I found. If you listen to the reference, this is a big problem. Listen to this reference and listen to the bass and what it's doing. All right, can anyone pinpoint what the bass is doing and why it's not going to work in this this style of music? Drop it in the comments. And if you really want to hear what the bass is doing, flip your monitoring from mono to stereo real quick as I play this back again. Anyone? Come on, 13 people in here. You guys can hear, right? You're in the wrong profession if you're on this live stream and you can't hear. I'm gonna talk my shit too. It's too muddy. Okay, that's a guess, a good guess, Daniel. Anyone else? Much more apparent than it's too muddy. Again, I want you to flip it in mono. Put your speakers in mono. It's panning. Okay, there you go. Sam. Let's go. Bing, bing. Sam, you get the award. You can have a masterclass for free. Which masterclass you want? Let me know in the comments. I'll hit you with a free masterclass. All right, so how the fuck's that going to work at a club? The bass is panning from like left to right. That doesn't work. Okay, that's not a real thing. Reason being is because your subwoofers are just going to lose their fucking mind. And then like everything's going to sound really weird and there's no reason to pan left and right with the low end. Okay? It just doesn't make any sense. There's no reason. There's no time when you'd be like, man, I really want my low end to be panning left to right. Like the sub frequencies. Like sub frequencies are felt, first of all. Okay? But we do not need those panning. That's just not even, it's not necessary. So what I did here with the bass, and to make this much more pop, is to not pan. Yeah, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Let's go. What I did with the bass is to not pan the part that you don't want to pan. So keep the, phase issues as well. I don't think phasing is going to be a big issue with panning the low end bass, Goldo, unless you're mastering to vinyl. Okay, then you're going to have a lot of issues, but not necessarily phase issues. I mean, maybe if you're mastering for mono, but who's mastering for mono? It's 2024, right? So here's what I'm doing. The important part about keeping the low end centered is that the low end is going to be felt, and it's going to be no matter what. If you keep it in the center, it's going to be coming out both speakers. It's going to be stereo no matter what. But if you pan it, you're going to lose your sub and your low end and your foundation in one speaker, and then you're going to get it back. And that's a really weird thing, and I don't think anybody will like that effect. I think that that's a weird effect that nobody's going to be like, wow, the low end is panning, right? That it just doesn't make sense, especially if this is played live at a club. All right, then you're panning in the subs. Doesn't make sense. The subs are going to mono it anyway. So not phase issues, but volume issues, Goldo, Paul. You will get volume issues. Like your bass will drop in and out almost. Okay, so here's what we did to make sure that that didn't happen. I took the bass and I duplicated it. And I have one bass where I have compressor, I have EQ just focusing on the sub, and then I have track spacer. All right, now that's for the kick drum, so it makes room for the kick drum. But you notice on the panning, I took these both to 0. So it's right up the middle. That is a mono pan right there, okay? So now this is the low end, this is the sub. Right? And you can hear the volume differences as well, even as that's starting to pan, because you're changing the variations in actual gain. It's going up and down because of the modulation that's happening. So to really show you what that looks like, we just hit E on the keyboard and we'll see right here. This is the bass now. And that's okay, but kind of not, right? So I'm going to compress the hell out of it. So I have the R comp on here, and this is compressing pretty hard. Right, and that'll even that bass out so that the sub stays consistent. We want that, okay? Now, let's say we still want the panning effect, though, because we don't want to take away from what the producer's doing. So I've duplicated it, and on this one, I'm filtering out all the top here, so you're just hearing the top, compressing it, and then I'm hitting it with the PS22 spreader, okay? So let's just listen to just the EQ on this, and then I'll show you what the spreader and everything else is doing. Okay, so to give us the EDM pumping effect, right, we do want to duck the bass every time the kick hits, okay? So what I have here is just the track spacer, and I have it just working on the low end at 8.8%. And if you hit this little circle here, you're going to get a really fast attack, so I can get that knock and that beater of the kick drum. And then the release, I try to set the release pretty quick too. So this is just ducking when the kick hits at the same time as the bass. And that's just going to make sure that we have voltage that's not going to be eating up. Like if you have a kick drum and you have a bass and an 808 and all this stuff stacked on top of each other, that's just a ton of low end and a lot of energy that's going to hit your master, and it's just going to clip out and distort. So I'm trying to make sure that when the low end hits, they're trading places. The low end is like low end, low end, low end, low end, but it's never going like low end, low end, low end, like stacking, right? So we're trying to control that a little bit better. All right, so what the PS22 spreader does, that's really awesome, is that it makes that bass pan go like up and back, and it gives it like this extra dimension. Really, really fun. Makes the track a little bit more interesting. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. Make more room. And you have to use room from the floor to the ceiling, from the front to the back, from the left to the right. You got all these things to play with. You got to play with the whole dimension of what you're mixing and mastering in, not just left and right, right? So if you learn how to use front to back, use up and down, use back, and you can place things how you want things placed in the stereo image. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just saying, hey, the bass is going to be right here, the foundation, solid, low end right here. And then the top little pan thing is going to be up here and back, and it's going to be a little bit wider, and it's going to be swimming over here. So it's just a fun thing to do. All right, for me, makes me happy. All right, and I need to be happy if I'm going to mix this record and make it sound good. All right, so here's what we got with this, and you'll notice it's a lot tighter sounding as well than the reference. Right? Punchier, tighter, more spacious, a little bit more dynamic even feeling, right? Not as like two-dimensional, blah, 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 right? We're opening it up, which I love to open up a mix. You also notice that the reference is clipping, which means that there's no limiter on there, or there's something that's going over on the reference. And if I really zoom in, you could see that the tops of the transients are actually clipped off on the reference as well, which is a big no-no because now we are losing a bunch of dynamics in that kick drum. And you can see right there, it's got a little shave going on. See that? So that's fine. We can clip the transients, but it doesn't sound very transient now, right? Like it doesn't sound punchy because the transients are getting killed. So the transients are going to come from harmonics in the mix. Okay. So when I'm mixing, I use a lot of harmonics. So first thing, I got my kick and my bass going to different mults, right? So they're going to different subgroups pretty much, right? Like mixing subgroups. So you got a kick drum here. It's going to the drum mix bus. If I go to the drum mix bus, I have the Jason Joshua thing going on with the NLS buses, little Pro Q3. All right, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4 NLS buses, Pro Q3 doing a little bit of 1K, taming out that bottom stuff, and then 4 more NLS buses. You guys are more than welcome to copy this. I copied it from Jason Joshua, and then I tweaked it to make it my own. And then this is the Pro Q3, ducking out a little bit of everything, like shelving it down from 570 down because it's getting a little much, right? If I bypass this in and out, I'll show you what that sounds like. Right, and then I'm just peaking out that 52 hertz because I find that that's a really musical spot of the kick drum. So just to solo that out so you can hear it. It's got a little soft clipping, distortion kind of going on. I don't mind that. Some people, they're like, oh my God, I heard distortion in the track. Oh, like that's just modern music. I'm sorry. Like a little soft clipping is great. You want that little crunch on there. I think that's how I like to hear it. All right, the drum mix bus going to the drum master bus. We have an R bass. R bass is going to take 80 hertz and above and give you a harmonic. Okay, so this helps it cut on smaller speakers. And then we have the Shadow Hills mastering compressor. I set this on steel. Steel is going to set around 50 hertz, which we already know is what we like here, 50 hertz. So that's going to give us that 50 hertz oomph. I can actually even take this down to 50 hertz or 51 or whatever and give it a little less gain. So it's not as big. That'll save a little voltage. And then the Shadow Hills compressor, I want to hit maybe half a dB to a dB, something like that. If I go from steel to iron, iron is going to take it up to a 100 hertz punchy area. So the kick's going to get punchier or it's going to get bigger and lower. So if I go to steel, I'm going to get bigger and lower, thicker sub. All right, and the key thing here is setting the attack and setting the threshold so that the threshold is just given about a dB or so. You can also get a little more punch out of the kick by opening this up a little bit. So this is the attack. Right now I had it at 5, I could go to 10, right? So 10 milliseconds. All right, then I got a gate to gate out all the noise that these NLS buses and stuff are going to bring in if the kick drum stops. Any of the drums stop, gate it out, right? Gates all the noise out. And then we have the black box analog design. This is going to give me more perceived loudness. This doesn't add gain. This adds harmonics, okay? So make sure that you understand that concept. It's going to sound louder because of the harmonics. So you're adding harmonics to the fundamental with the saturation, the pentode, and the triode. Okay, this is just like a big cheat code for loud records. See what I'm saying? So if you're getting any gain, it's like a dB. Or like half a dB, but it sounds like it's 3 dB, right? So that's a big deal. That's harmonics. And you could saturate more. Remember, this is only the kick drum that you're hearing through that. So if I mute the bass master and we just focused on the kick drum, this is what you're hearing through all this. Okay, makes sense? Just giving you distortion. It's giving you harmonics. And then I mix this in. I usually back off a little bit. So let the transient through. If I mix this at 100%, it's going to take away some of that beater, right? Because it's going to distort it. So it's going to soften the edges, basically. So I let that transient through and that immediacy by just kind of bumping this down to 80% on the mix. So now I'm paralleling it in. All right, BX Digital EQ, just giving it a little bit of stereo width. 112%. You could also use the mono maker to keep your low end right in the middle. So let's say like you really want 55 hertz and below to be centered in mono. You can use this, and that's going to keep your 50 hertz and below in the middle. And you'll notice that's not doing much of anything because there's not a whole lot of information on the sides. Make sense? The kick drum is in the middle. All right, so what's next? What do we got? Bass master. So now I got my bass, these two basses, right? The high bass and the low sub bass. Going to the bass master subgroup. Bass master subgroup is going to be pretty much the same thing. R bass, we got the Shadow Hills. And notice on the Shadow Hills, we're doing steel here. This is going to be low. You can go a little bit punchier by going up to iron. I'm going to keep it at steel. Sometimes it's cool to do... sometimes what I'll do is I'll say, hey, the drums are going to be, like the kick drum is going to be centered around the iron setting, which is 100 hertz. Remember, it's punchier. And then the bass is going to be under it at 50 hertz, which is an octave, right? And then we'll center that on steel. Okay, same thing. Got the gate, got the black box analog design, and that's just mixed in at 80%. And then you have the R compressor at 4:1, and I'm just going to let this hit a dB to 2, like 1 to 2 dB here. All right, lastly, that's going to the all drums bus. That all drums bus is going to give you just a little EQ. Again, that was getting like boisterous. We're just adding a lot, so I'm just tucking it down a little bit. This is 1.57 dB tucking it down, all right? Pushing that 1K because I love that. That's like an API thing. And then I got the standard clip on here, which I'm not going to have it oversampling at 4 times. I'll do it at 2 times, just because you can run into latency as you start to oversample really crazy with soft clips and shit. So just be careful of that. But this is going to just give it some soft clip saturation, right? Just more harmonics, more loudness, more perceived loudness. And then that's going to go to the submix, which is the master augs, which has the variable mu. Now remember, like watch how much I'm compressing. So when you sit there and you're like, man, you're using too many plugins. Like, no, I'm not. I'm using these plugins very, very sparingly. I'm just using a lot of them because I'm very, like, using them for their subtleties. Also, I know this analog gear very well. All right, so if I push that input here on the Manly, you're going to get harmonics. You're going to get this oomph. It's going to push things forward. And that's because of the tubes in it, because it's a variable mu compressor that runs off of tubes. Okay, so if I back off this, you're going to hear how, like, the kick drum kind of falls back. So notice that I backed off the input, but I made up the gain with the output, and it still does not sound up front and in your face because the saturation, the harmonics aren't happening on that tube input push. Massive difference, not different. Having a little bread and olive oil here. Gotta keep it going, you know what I mean? All right, next up, BX Digital, V3 on the master. Mid side.
what I need to do. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to do. I need to. I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I need to. I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans.
All right, you guys get what I'm doing here? If you don't, just ask questions. I'm not going to go through everything in detail. I can't sit here and just like make this a tutorial about the kick drum. I actually do have to mix this. So soft clipping here. This is like Lavery Gold converters being clipped. That's the idea here. And then the Avalon 747 SP, an amazing mastering EQ built right in here. This is amazing. I tucked down 500 or so, pushed up 100, gave it a little tiny bump at the sub range here. And then 0.1 at 2K, 5K boost, and then this is the top sizzle, okay? And then we have the God Particle finishing everything. And that's because I love the adaptive limiter here. And I also love this harmonic here in the middle.
I need to. I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue.
Okay, key thing is gain staging throughout your master bus. So you can see here, this is at -2 dB. It's not clipping out. It's not going over. It's giving me -2.8 on here. And then I'm making up with the limiter -2.5. So kind of matching those. That's the way that works. Dip the mids a little bit. Just to give it more of like a smiley face curve, Fletcher Munson kind of vibe, because we're really going to perceive the mid-range a lot more than we will anything else. So as you push things up and you push things into saturation, harmonics, compression, limiting, etc., you probably want to make up for that mid push that's going to happen. So I'll show you what that means as I bring that mid up and down.
I need to. I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new.
Right, so you just kind of tuck that back so everything in the mids kind of matches with everything else in the sides and all that. Okay. What is this? Ring mod on the bass, or is it just 8-bit crunchy on purpose? Yeah, it's an 8-bit kind of crunchy thing that he's got going on. I think it's a synth. Let me see here. Is red the sideband for Pro Q3? No. No. No, there's no mid-side EQ at all right here, okay? This is all stereo. Nothing mid-side. If I want to do mid-side, I'd go here, go to stereo placement, do mid or side. No, I don't want to mid-side the drums at all. That would be silly for me. I want the drums to be stereo. I want them to be pumping and tight. This isn't the kind of track that I'm going to mid-side EQ the drums. Unless there's something like ringing out on the sides, there's no reason to mid-side your drums. So, okay, clap. Now we got a lo-fi plugin here. I love this because the saturation here is just going to kind of roll the top a little bit. So if you listen to the reference, the clap is just all over the vocal. Okay, so here's the reference.
I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans.
And that just sounds like shit to me because it's like, and like, what? Why is a clap so important? Doesn't seem that important, you know? Like, I don't want that to be that important. So let's listen to what I got here.
I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect.
All right, so I hate the fact that that clap has like this, right? So it just keeps going, which is driving me fucking nuts. So yeah, so I dipped the mids a little bit here at 1300 because that's like the vocal, right? So I just kind of pop that out of the middle. But for the clap, I think I'm going to use some sort of transient effect here to kind of kill the transient release, because the release is just killing me. And I'll show you what I mean. Because he's printed it with his like pre-delay verb sort of thing, and you can see it in the file here, right? So like just look at how long that is. It's like just doesn't sound good to me. So let's make it pump a little bit more. The way I do this is just turn the sustain down.
I like smell and the small tattoo. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue just what a
Okay, it's still not like right, but you know, in mixing we just kind of like make a move and then we come back to it. But the way I'd really want this to sound is I'd want the dry clap, and then I would program my own reverb around it, because I don't like the pre-delay reverb that he's got on here. It actually doesn't sound a whole lot like the reference either, like when I hear the clap here.
I like smell and the small tattoo.
I guess it does. It's just a bad reverb to me. Just taking up way too much space and just ringing for way too long. Like, it's not decaying right. It should be like, you know, like have some variations in it a little bit. I think that would be really cool. It would make the track a lot more vibey. And the best way to do that, I think, would be maybe, here, I'll show you. Show you what you could do to kind of fix that issue. I think this is at 120, but it doesn't look like it's lining up to 120, which is interesting. So the way I would do that is I would go in and I would just like chop some variation in there, right? So just like do this, and then you can program a reverb later. Show you what I mean. Definitely don't want that to happen, but here we go. This kind of vibe.
I like smell. I like smell and the
Right, like even just that kind of like having those little open gaps helps it a lot. It just makes it kind of feel a little bit more more exciting, and also like more like less mechanical and machine gun kind of vibe, right? So you can hit tab to transients here on Pro Tools if you turn it on first. You can turn on tab to transients here, and then you can kind of just like break it apart a little bit. So here's the tab to transients thing. Here, where is it? Tab to transients. There we go. All right. And then if you hit tab, it'll just tab to every transient, right? And that's kind of a nice way to do this. You can go through it, and there's a lot of transients in this, obviously, but hit B, right? And just tab, and then B, and then tab, B, 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 B. And there's probably a way easier way to do this. You could do strip silence. You could do whatever, right? But I'm just going to go through clack, 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 and just chop it up, right? And then I can go in and change and variate, just change the variation on these a little bit, right? Just to make it a little bit more human and a little less like machine gunny. You can also turn on your grid and go to like 64th notes, right? And then turn on the grid here. And that way you can just kind of snap to a grid here, which might be easier if that's what you're into. Right? But you definitely want to leave some sort of gap, not too big. Like a 64th is great for me. In some cases, maybe a 32nd, right? Just to kind of give it some variation. And then once you're done with that, you always want to fade. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go to this transient, hit A. It's going to cut everything there. And then we'll highlight all of these and give it a fade. Just hit F. And there you go. You got all your fades on there. Bam, 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 bam. Now that could kill the transient, so let's undo that. And then if you go to your, I think it's Command F. Yeah, Command F is opening up your batch fades stuff that's going to give you like how long do you want the things to be. So the fade in shape, for example, can be just normal or could be like that. So you can have more of the transient. And then on the milliseconds, you could just go like 5 milliseconds on that. And then the fade out could be, I don't know, 20, right? And then, or that's a crossfade, sorry. Doesn't matter. I'm not using crossfades. Yeah, fade out 100, let's go 50, right? And then hit OK. And now when I do my fade in, fade out batch fades by just hitting F, bam. Now I got my transients there still and my life, and my fade out is bigger. So let's hear this clap now.
I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go.
Right? Just kind of gives it a vibe. And some of those I felt like were a little bit too much, like this one. All right, so just kind of bring that back a little bit. And this one, you know, when we first started chopping away, we may have done a little too much. But now we're giving it a better pocket. It feels a little bit more exciting.
I like the smell and the small tattoo.
And maybe when the clap is by itself, you don't need that, right? Like maybe you just like have that really small. So it doesn't sound so apparent, that kind of vibe. But those are things I would do to make sure that this track like really hits and it makes sense, that are kind of outside the realm of just mixing, right? So it's not always just throwing EQ and compressors on shit and then throwing it in a bunch of reverb. That's my point, I guess. So lo-fi on that is going to give it a nice rounded sound. If you want it to be, again, more immediate, turn the saturation back off and you're going to get that high end back that I really don't like.
I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go.
It kind of needs it though, so I'm going to turn the lo-fi off. And you can see I kind of did that on the other clap as well. I think I probably went back and forth with it. So our comp is going to give it some punch because of the attack of it. It's going to make it more punchy, right? It's just going to give it more of a transient effect. Pro Q3, I'm just bumping this up so it has more body. And then the SPL Transient Designer, like I said, I'm just killing some of that sustain, which this is doing very little, honestly. I could probably just bypass this as well. Let's just check it out, in and out.
I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue.
All right, so that's kind of how I build it. On the vocal, I have a little chain going, right? So not much, little Pro Q3, dipping out some of the nasally kind of stuff that I didn't like. Pro DS, because this needed a lot of de-essing, I felt like. And it probably is going to get more de-essing at the vocal bus. So here's the vocal bus getting Pro DS as well. A little Spectre topping, hitting that top, which is, remember, this is all in parallel because you have a mix at 50% in Spectre. So it's a parallel processor, adding distortion, harmonics, etc. And then I have an R comp at the end, just kind of really attack fast to catch kind of like anything that's going too peaky. You know, like if she's da 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 da, you know, anything like that, just kind of smooth it out.
I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new.
You'll notice like I'm doing very, very little processing on the vocal because the vocal is very processed already. Let's be real, right? Like that that stem is super processed. So I'm not doing much. I like, even when you put the plugins in and out, some of y'all are like, well, I don't hear any difference, right? It's like, yeah, that's the point. Like, we're not trying to do a bunch, okay? Not everything needs your stank on it. Like, oh, I'm mixing, so I have to put a plugin on everything. I remember doing that. I remember the first couple years of mixing records for me. I was like, I have to put a plugin on everything. The clap, the hi-hat, everything needs a plugin. It's going to make it sound better, right? So that's just not true. A lot of times you don't need it. All right, so that's I really pay attention to that kind of stuff. These vocal doubles, let's listen to these.
I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look.
So I feel like those are too bright. How I would tame these, yeah, I kind of already tamed out a lot of that. I just kind of made these a little less bright, but I think that they could kind of bring this body back up a little bit. On this and on this, it's okay if they're not perfect, because the difference between left and right is just going to give us more width. One's panned left, hard left, and one's panned hard right. They're very similar, which is kind of hard because it makes it kind of collapse in the stereo a little bit, which I don't like. But yeah, I want to hit this pretty hard with de-essing, and then I want to kind of darken this a little bit. So I might even bring this back here and then put it as a shelf to just kind of turn down the top end a little bit more, right? And just make like maybe the mid-range a little bit more pronounced, like 800 to 1K, right? Somewhere around there. Now I'll just option drag this Pro Q3 and replace that, okay? So we're just gonna replace it. And now let's hear these doubles kind of a little darker.
Just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. I love you is what I need to.
I don't know what this singer is even saying. It doesn't sound like anything. It just sounds like gibberish. But what I'm trying to do here is just create space around her, give it a wider kind of texture. It's not like you want to hear these doubles. You really just want to feel that the vocal's wider and more spacious and has a little bit of a texture to it in the left and right. Okay, and you'll also notice there's some cleanup maybe that you could do here, right? As I zoom in on the waveform, I could see the release on this is really crazy. But just always listen. All right, so just kind of clean that up a little bit. And now that we have the vocals, we have the bass, all that stuff in, let's find any other rhythm instrument that's going to be playing during this part. So here's the guitars. It looks like a melody guitar. Let's just hear this by itself and see what it's doing. All right, lots of low end in that. That's kind of a little too much low end for my liking, especially considering this is just going to turn into a bunch of stuff on top of each other. But I'm going to take this to the guitar tracks that I have in my actual template. And I have these going and busing to the, looks like instrument mix bus. And then, yeah, they're all going to the instrument mix bus. So let's take the guitar and let's put it, I think that looks good. I'm looking at the EQs and I'm going, which one would this fit best? And then we also have an RC20 and a Juno chorus on this one. Let's just bring it up to this, right? And now we're going through the routing, the same thing as everything else. You'll notice all my stems at the bottom are muted for now because I'm kind of building the track still. And I feel like this is going to be a good EQ for this idea here that he has. I might need to bring in more low end, but let's hear it in the mix. And go up to red because that's where our guitars are.
I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go
Okay, so this one's going to be a really hard one because you're really competing against the kick drum, the bass, basically everything, okay? So you got to be really careful with these kind of instruments because they need to be kind of felt more than heard. And if I listen to the reference, I can kind of get some clues into how he hears it, right? How the producer hears it. So let's listen.
I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and fall.
Yeah, it just kind of sounds like a mess, to be honest with you. I don't really like the way he has that mixed in. It doesn't make very much sense. So what we're going to do here is maybe try to give it some color. The chorus was in hopes to spread it a little bit wider, right? So that's what I was thinking when I did that. So what I'm hearing is that like the upper harmonic of this that we can make pop out a little bit better. So getting rid of the Juno chorus, let's open up our RC20. And the reason I have these plugins on here is specifically for guitars and guitar synth kind of stuff, right? This doesn't sound like a guitar, let's be real, it sounds like a synth. But RC20, really good distortion here that will help that that harmonic and that sound come out a little bit.
Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh.
All right, so see how we're using reverb and the return of the reverb to give it more EQ, and the EQ throws to the back a little bit, gives it some dimension. Another way to do that would be to use like pre-delay and give this guitar more dimension so that it's heard better. Okay, so a lot of the times people want to EQ to make things work or compress to make things work, etc. But for me, I like to think about pre-delay and front to back. And remember, I talked about things going up and down and things going left and right. You have to kind of use all the space in a mix rather than just left to right or up and down, front to back as well. And you can get very nuanced with it. You can bring it up and push it back, you know, and then widen it out a little bit or tuck it in a little bit tighter. You have to spend time to make the sounds work within the record. And you also need to understand which sounds are really important to the record and which are just really not selling the record. Like, that's not going to be a detrimental sound to the record. Let's be real. This needs to be kind of like felt. I feel like it's bouncing off of the idea of the 808 and the kick drum, you know? It's just like a rhythm pulse. So that's one way to do it. Another way would be to use like true verb, right, from Waves, and use, I have like a preset. I have a bunch of presets, but my favorite two are Tuck the Synth and early reflection stuff. Okay, so this will give it early reflections, and watch what this does for it. It's pretty amazing. All right, so it's either like really big and like, right, and it starts to compete with the bass, or you tuck it back with early reflections, and that bass naturally rolls off because of what early reflections sound like. It's just the way they work, right? So now I can put the RC20 maybe after the true verb and see what that does. But another thing I want to do before that is I just want to compress so I'm not losing any of this, because I don't want it to go. I want it to stay pulsing. So that's why I would use compression. So maybe like 2 to 1, 2.5 to 1, right? And let's just compress and tickle it at maybe 3 dB. Attack pretty hard, release really fast, and we're just going to get this to stay still a little bit more. I know this looks crazy. You're like, man, you're EQing so much. It's like, well, the sound's not really produced right. Let's be real. So I'm kind of like trying to make a synth that shouldn't be in that range work in that range. All right. So this is kind of like fixing a problem, not necessarily like, yeah, like that's a lot of boosting, right? But I'm putting everything into the sides and I'm taking things out of the middle and the stereo. So just trying to make this a lot less of like a boomy in your face thing. So just bypassing all the plugins like before and after, I'll show you what I mean. All right, now that is going to work in the mix better. It doesn't sound as good soloed, but check it out in the mix.
I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell
right, now we got a much punchier, defined low end, okay? Listening, let's pop back and forth to the reference, because I think your ear you can get lost. You can start to hone in on this and go like, that sound doesn't sound right, Brad. You should tweak it for another hour. But like, that's not the point. That sound is not the record. Okay. Let's be real. Like no one's going like, oh, that's the sound. That's selling the record, especially when the vocals are going and everything. People are listening to the vocals. So you have to pick and choose your battles. So let's listen to the reference. Listen to the low end. Focus on the low end, the low mids, the 200, 300, 500, the sub bass, everything, and listen how much more defined we got our mix sounding than this reference. So reference first. Here you go.
I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and fall. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and fall someone new. Oh, love.
So the big differences I'm hearing are that he pretty much doesn't have any bass like really playing in his stuff. Like the sub is missing the feeling of it, you know, that big oomph. And I think it's because he had to probably just keep turning it down because he couldn't get all these elements to fit together. And that's a big problem. It's in the production. It's in, selecting the right sounds pretty much, right? And we do have some gain structuring to do. Obviously, we're pushing a little too hard on some things. So to gain things down and up, always go to your all vocals, all instruments, all drum and bass, and just kind of tuck them back a little bit if you need to. Or on the output of the last plugin, you can take that down. You know what I mean? Wherever you need to gain it down. But I'm hearing that I want to probably tuck things down a little bit. So take the instruments down, maybe a dB. Take the vocals down a dB. We're just going to give headroom, right? Because as we add more and more levels and things to it, we're going to be hitting all the processors and all the plugins harder and harder. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're paying attention to that, right? So we're just going down a dB. And now everything's being processed through the process, but then we're taking it down at the macro level before it hits the master bus stuff, okay?
I like smell. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. I like.
It's also pretty obvious that we're missing the there's like a bass fall that he has in there, and I think it's probably this guy here, this sub drop. So let's hear this. It's just like sub on top of sub on top of sub on top of sub. It's bad arrangement, let's be real. So like this is like where you have to pick and choose as a producer, like what sound do you want to accentuate on the bass part? You can't have a million basses on top of each other. But if you do, and you hire me to mix it, I have to make sure that all this stuff works together. Another thing is, I think that for our bass right now, we can bring the bass up and maybe the kick down a little bit, right? So as I hear this all together,
I like smell and the small tattoo. I like smell. I like smell and the small tattoo.
right? Much better, a lot tighter, kind of making up for headroom. We're just modularly mixing, right? Now we have this impact in here. Let's make sure that this goes through the bass as well. So we're going to go to the bass master here. And also for the track spacer, I think drag and drop that down. You don't need to compress this. This is a fall and impact. It doesn't need compression. And it doesn't need EQ because it's actually going, right? So it's falling down. But the track spacer is going to help on the kick so we don't overlap a bunch of low end frequencies on top of each other. So check it out.
I like smell and the small tattoo. I like smell and the small tattoo.
And the cool thing is we can actually hear that a lot better in this mix than we can in the reference. Like, listen to the bass drop on this one.
I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Love you is what I need to. I like smell.
Right, so we're starting to get somewhere. This mix has a lot more dimension. I feel like his reference is very two-dimensional. It's like, bah, 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 like everything's just right in your face, which doesn't give it any front to back. It doesn't give any width, doesn't give any depth, doesn't give any like space and feeling. It just kind of feels like everyone's hitting you at once, right? So pay attention to that. Like, you're like, oh, but it's louder. It's like, yeah, but we're far from done with the mix, right? So at this point, we want to just start adding these other instruments. We got the melody guitar working pretty well. If you want, you can open up the low end a little bit more, right? Because you're like, oh, well, the low end, you know, we're missing the low end on it. Yeah, that's cool. I get it. So everything can have low end, but then nothing has low end. And everything can have low end, but then it's going to clip everything. Everything can have low end, but then you're going to lack clarity in your mix. Everything can have low end, but then you're not going to have space and dimension. So you got to pick and choose your battles. You really have to understand what you're trying to get across with this record. So what is the vibe? Like, what's the space around it, right? Like, what is the feeling you're trying to evoke? And if you don't know that, then you're going to have a really hard time mixing or producing or doing anything. Especially in music, because like you have to understand why you're doing things. Not just, oh, it needs to sound loud and it needs to have a lot of low end. Like, it doesn't really make sense. So as we start to maximize this idea, because that's all that's playing right here, until we get these other parts in and this other like, you know, spaced out thing, and then it looks like some more drums come in and different parts, etc. We have to get this section sounding pretty damn good. Right now, I think that it's sounding pretty good, but I feel like the vocal maybe tucked a little bit back. So let's just go to the vocal here, which is the lead, and just make sure that we're getting a little bit more up in your face. And the way we do that, and the way that I'm going to do it, is I'm going to send this to a parallel compressor. All right. Now remember, I have everything already pretty much, you know, mapped out on my template. But sometimes I want to, you know, make something new, like a parallel compression for the vocals or whatever. So if you want to do that, you just go new track, and then this will give you an aux, and we'll just say Vox P comp, Vox parallel compression, bada bam. This Vox P comp has to be routed then to the all Vox. Okay. So not the Vox bus, because that's going to be our mix bus, but the all Vox. So where everything is ending up, because we don't want to compress and EQ and shit. This parallel compression. We want this to be parallel and meet up with the all vocals. So on this, I want to use something that's going to give me like some good mid-range. Mid-range, when I think about mid-range, I think like 1176 Blueface. I think Neve 33609. I think Distressor, right? Empirical Labs Distressor. Anything that's going to give like a thickening and a mid-range to it. So I'm going to use something expensive because, you know, Fairchild's good, 660, right? But I'm going to use what I have. So I'm going to go to the Neve, and I'm going to use the 33609. And the 33609 just has like a really nice mid-range to it. You could easily just open up a preset, but I kind of pretty much already know what I want on this. I want to, first of all, send this parallel compression 100%. Right? And then I want to, let's just solo the vocal for now. Why not? And then on this compressor, we want to hit this pretty hard. I'm going to hit this with quite a bit, and then I'm going to blend it in. So let's go like a 4-to-1 or a 6-to-1. and we will go. I like this automatic recovery. This is really good. This is basically just the release time, and there's an automatic A1 and A2. I'm just gonna leave it on A1, and then our threshold, right? So let's just listen.
I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like your smell and the small tattoo.
Okay, and then a lot of the times with a parallel compressor on the vocal, I like to put an EQ after the parallel compression and just kind of roll out anything that's adding a lot of like tinny sounding stuff, ear fatiguing stuff. For example, 2K, 5K, those kind of areas. So you could even sweep, right? You can even just like literally filter this stuff out, right? Same thing on here. So I'm really trying to hone in on just the mid-range of the vocal. And this is a technique I use all the time to keep the vocal up front, but also like full. It just feels a lot more fuller in the mid-range.
I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to.
Like that's perfect, right? It's just giving it exactly what I want to give it. Another thing I sometimes do, and I'm going to just color this vocal P comp. I'm going to give it a pink just so I know that it's a vocal. Or if it's an effect, a parallel effect, sometimes I use this teal color, right? So that just kind of helps me see it really quick. Like there's the vocal bus, there's the vocal parallel compression, here's delays, rap verb, fattening. Okay, so this is the next thing I want to do is I want to turn on the fattening here. And I want to, this is a doubler 2, waves doubler 2. And I just kind of tuck the middle channel and push the sides up. And then I don't usually I want that kind of like not as bright pretty much. Doesn't matter. I'm going to use an EQ after it anyway. So I'm like rolling out the top, and let's push this back up because I don't mind this in this vocal. And then I'm rolling out the bottom, and then an S1 imager to give it some width. Okay. And this is going to go to the all vocals as a parallel, and it's going to thicken out the middle of the vocals. I've talked about this a lot of times on my content and how I use this, but that's what we're doing with this. And we're going to go to the vocal and set that send for the fattening bus. And watch, I guess, listen to what the fattening does as we blend it in.
I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to.
We just made those vocals way more important. Like they became the star of the track again, right? So bypassing in and out, the two things we just did, just vocal parallel compression and that fattening bus on the lead vocal, here's the difference. I'm just going to bypass it in and out so you can really hear what is going on with the vocal.
I like your smell and the small tattoo. I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to.
right? And you can start to balance the vocal now. You can say, okay, this needs to actually go down a little bit now because it got like perceived loudness a lot more because now we're parallel. It's not just perceived loudness, it's real loudness because you're sending to a fattening bus, which is gain, and then you're sending to a parallel compressor that's meeting at the all vox, it's gain as well. So you're adding gain from those parallel processes. So now you can kind of blend the dry signal with the wet signals, right? So just kind of find that place where it's like, oh, that feels really good.
I like the smell and the smell tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the smell tattoo.
All right, cool. That's sounding good to me for now, right? Like, so then you just move on to the next section. But also to kind of give this a little more push, because that's what we're really trying to do. We're like, okay, we got to get this pushing a little bit harder. Let's start to tweak a little bit of the master bus. But before I do that, I want to try these clippers on. These are just soft clipping. You're adding some soft clip saturation here. And I'm going to go to 2 times on this so we don't completely explode the computer. And we're going to start blending this for the vocals, for the all instruments, and for the drum bus to just soft clip saturation before we hit the master bus. It's like pre-mix master, you know, it's like a pre-master on these subgroups. This vocal I know is going to be way too much. We're at 52%, but just bear with me. We're going to kind of rein these things in.
I like the smell and the smell tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the smell tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to.
All right, so I just want to tiny bit chop the tops, give them a little soft saturation on these guys here. So this is the clip, right? So I'm taking it down to where it's just clipping the top, the very, very top. But it doesn't mean we're going to lose the transient. That's the best thing about the standard clip. It just means we're going to give ourselves a little more headroom on this master bus to push things a little bit further and get us a little bit more loudness, perceived loudness, all that good stuff. I'm going to do a little bit of limiting here to really start to gain things up on this DMG Limitless because it's a very powerful plugin that is very transparent.
I like the smell and the smell tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look.
So I'm using this as a dynamic EQ that's built into the DMG Audio Limitless. And I'm going to find some de-essing in here as well. That's what I'm trying to do. And just kind of smooth things out and bring levels up and gain up so that we can get this record hitting at a loudness that's very competitive.
I like the smell and the smell tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the smell tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love
right, just giving myself some gain where I can, taking down things where I can, and things feeding, like they're like, this feeds that feeds that. Like we have to make sure that everything's kind of getting what it wants. That's the best way I could put it. And then on this, I think we can probably leave the tame and recover there. That's fine. But mess around with this boost here and see if we can get a more modern sound out of this. This is actually maybe my favorite part of the Gullfoss plugin. It's not necessarily the tame and recover. It has a lot to do with this boost. It has this ability to sort of make the record feel really smooth and tuck the harsh mid-range kind of stuff.
I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Blue jeans. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I like. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I like. The smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to.
All right, that's starting to sound like a really smooth record, right? Like when you bounce back and forth, and this is what I'm doing. I'm just trying to find the tone of the record, right? Once I find the tone of the record, adding new instruments is easy. It's like put the instrument in, tuck it into the mix, put it where it needs to be. Oh, it's an important element. Great. Okay, now let that shine for a second. That's the easy part about mixing. The hard part is getting the tone, getting it all, tight and put together where it sounds like a record, and then you can fly. Like the adding new sound stuff is going to be simple. But just going back and forth real quick before I get out of here, or maybe I could even answer some questions for anybody that's left here. I'll show you. The reference sounds boisterous. It sounds clumsy. It sounds like here's everything, and it's all on top of each other. And then bounce to the mix we got right now, and it's clean, and it's punchy, and it's tight, and it's put together. It feels more like a radio record.
I like the smell and and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. I like your smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I.
Right, we got a lot more space, a lot more dynamics. It just feels better to me. It feels a lot smoother, like buttery, you know, like buttery and tight. And we're gonna get a lot better on it because I still haven't figured out the low end. There's a lot of issues in the low end, and the low end is it's a hard thing for a lot of people. But getting that low end to be tight and impactful and still punchy and still subby, it's a lot of work to make that happen when the record has a lot of different low end elements. But do you guys have any questions before I get out of here? I know I've been streaming for about an hour and a half. This is usually when I would take an ear break with my mixes. So because my ears are pretty tight now. And I know if I come back, I might go like, oh, that shit, this is all messed up. I need to do this, this, and this. You know what I mean? Fix that little problem there. But once I'm done with that, I'll take an ear break. I'll come back and I can finish up this record within, you know, a couple hours from there. So I'm usually about, I would say, 2 to 3 sessions where I'm like going in, right? And obviously like on this, I'm like talking through it and trying to show you guys stuff. So it does slow me down quite a bit. But yeah, definitely need an ear break. Sean, how do you send a audio file for you to review? I'm not sure what you're asking there. I don't just review songs. Like I have a job to do. But if you're talking about my song reviews, the live song reviews, I do those like I try to do those weekly. You got to sign up for the mailing list. If you're on the mailing list, then you get a link to upload your song. So if you want to join the mailing list, you could send me an email at info@radium-media.com. So I'm not like just sitting here like giving people feedback on their songs. You know what I mean? You wish. Yeah, you know, I've been in music for 28 years. I'm just online giving people feedback for their music. That's what I do all day. Nobody pays me anything. I just fucking do this all for free. It's like, what if I just asked you to do your job? Hey, do your job for free. Go fix my plumbing, bro. How do I get that going? You got me? I think you get it. Yeah, fire in the hole. No, but for real, you guys have any questions about any of this? Like, you know, you got me right here. You have any questions about mixing, like production, songwriting? If not, I'll get out of here. You know, I got other things to do. I got lots of stuff that I can be doing. But yeah, I'm here for you guys right now. I try to do these streams as much as I possibly can. I also have to, you know, ask the artist and the producer and stuff if I can actually stream their music. Like I can't just, you know, open every record that I'm working on and be like, yeah, I'm going to do a live stream on YouTube. A lot of clients I have to sign NDAs on, so I'm not even allowed to talk about it. Cool. Yeah. Hopefully it helps, Drew. If you guys got something out of this, please like hit the thumbs up, like it, you know, share it, drop a comment, whatever. Like just help the channel grow. That's what it's about. I just love sharing this stuff. I love teaching. So it's another passion of mine. You know, I love making music. I love writing songs. I like mixing. I like all this stuff. So I also like talking about it. I like sharing it. So that's why I'm here right now. All right. So I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully you guys like the stream, and if you did, share it, share the show, and subscribe to the channel. Show love. You know, that's all you got to do. You don't have to pay me anything. I just gave you an hour and a half of mixing. I hope it helped. Peace.